Was one of the judges. So we was going to cheat a little.
What do you think has helped you stay so sharp this many years?
Got a pistol out, said he wanted to kill a zoot suitor.
Rodeo Time, the podcast, is bringing you Wes ONeal. He is a Texas cowboy legend, almost 90 years old. He's still ranching, just like his brother Boots. We get to hear his story, along with his grandson, Cole Hatfield. Nobody will outwork that man, let me tell you. So we've got a family affair here on the Rodeo Time podcast, brought to you by Rodeo Time. Check out dalebrisby.com for the greatest brand that the world has ever known, Rodeo Time.
What kind of guy is J.B. Mooney?
JB is he's a good dude. He's a normal guy. He just likes all things cowboys, you know. If he had time to live another life, I'm sure he would have been a cowboy, you know, but he dedicated all of his time and to bull riding, and that's what the greats do. They don't have time to also do another craft and be great at it. You know, he's kind of obsessed with bull riding. But now he's doing he trades a lot of bulls.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a place in Stephenville that he built up, and it's an old dairy, and it's huge. Like, he's got alleys everywhere and that lead to an arena and a chute to work them, and he buys and sells a lot of bulls.
So it's pretty much exactly opposite of a horse trader. How's he ride? He bucks pretty good.
Yep. Yeah,
so
exactly.
The harder they buck, the more money they bring.
Yeah, exactly.
The less they buck, they don't want them.
Do you watch him some?
Yeah. When he was at his peak, I think he's about the best bull rider I've seen on ranked bulls.
Yes, sir.
But
He liked to get on the sure enough bad buckers. So, did you do any rodeoing?
amateur little.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. I've rode a few bareback horses, Kevin. But I had better luck in the saddle bronc riding. But
Really?
yeah, but you know, I couldn't have made a living.
Yes, sir.
Just amateur stuff.
Was it mostly around Texas?
Yeah, it was all right around up there in the Panhandle, Amarillo, Canadian, Clarendon, Perryton, Silverton, Claude, Texas, Silverton,
Dang.
Groover.
Tell them about the horse at the JAs that the rodeo company bought that was in your string at the JAs, and then you and Boots, I think, both drew him once or twice.
No, that
American hats. You know why? Because I'm an American. I'm not a communist. I would be also wearing their T-shirt or a cap because I'm on a podcast. I got these headphones on, but they don't sell those. All they sell, all they make are cowboy hats because they're cowboys. And if you want to be one, wear an American hat.
was me and we had one that started there at the JAs and they didn't quit bucking. They sold him to the rodeo producer.
Yes, sir.
And me and another one, they sold two of them at the same time. Me and Cowboy entered the bronc riding over at McLean, you know, and I know old thing just, we didn't draw him, he just give them to us, but God, you talk about buck. They didn't practice on them or nothing, you know, he just run them in the chute and put a saddle and a flank on them. And Lord have mercy, talk about getting bucked off.
So he was easier to ride at the wagon?
Yeah, he never did buck me off out there, but boy, he was voted in the top 5 or 6 one year at the national finals.
Really?
Thomas Steiner wound up with him. Morris Stevens bought him from the ranch, and he'd get them good saddle broncs. He'd sell them to the RCA boys. But, yeah, that horse could buck.
What'd they call him?
Little Tom.
When you said me and Cowboy, who?
Cowboy Johnson.
Okay.
I just ranch cowboy like myself there.
Yes, sir.
We'd go around, but I've the biggest rodeo I was fortunate enough to win was Pampa. It was top of Texas, but it was, and I won at Perryton, I won at Silverton, and
There were a lot of bareback riders then, weren't there?
yeah, but I was just, the only time I got in the bareback riding is when you was eligible for all around.
Mm.
You know, when you had to be in 2 events.
So you just got on them when you had to.
Yeah, yeah. I wasn't good enough. I couldn't make a real pretty spur ride. But
Yes, sir.
back then, I've had the mare at Silverton. This one old mare come off the Matador ranch. He'd been killing everybody. And them judges walked up there and said, if you just mark him out and ride him, we give you the bronc ride. And that's what I done. But after 3 or 4 jumps, he just gave up and kind of bucked off down. He was just throwing everybody first, second jump. And they wanted to see somebody, but amateurs,
Did they talk it up, make a big deal of it, how he was on the road and everything?
No,
while you were getting on him?
I don't think so. I don't.
That horse wasn't used to somebody staying on him that long.
Yeah, he didn't know what. When after 3 or 4 jumps, he didn't know. Then I drawed him 2 weeks later at another rodeo, and he just crow hopped off down the pen.
Yeah.
He done give up.
Man. How old were you? How many years did you really rodeo?
A couple,
Yes, sir.
maybe part of 3. My deal was working for the JAs. That was 25 miles dirt road out of town, and we worked 7 days a week. You could sneak off sometime at noon and get to one, but you had to be back there to go to work the next morning.
When you went to those, would you have to ride a horse to somewhere to jump in with somebody, or were you driving everywhere?
It depends, sometimes you'd have to maybe ride where the Wagoners camped to where your car was.
Yes, sir.
And then, but it was about $10 to enter, and 50, 30, and 20 was the payoff.
Yes, sir.
First is 50. Generally had $100 in the pot.
Did you ever ride a horse to a rodeo?
Oh,
okay.
never did. No.
Yeah. So was it something rodeoing, working for those ranches? I guess they didn't really mind you going to rodeos.
They never said anything to me about it. Yeah.
What they didn't know didn't hurt them.
Yeah, sometimes, but I can't ever remember them
Yes, sir.
saying don't go or no. I don't even know. Oh, the wagon boss knew.
Yes, sir.
But they didn't care.
Well, I really would love to just hear the Wes ONeal story. I didn't want to change the subject off of rodeo in there for a minute, just because I like hearing those stories. But I know you grew up, and your dad was a cowboy too, right?
We come from a humble beginning. He was a cowboy, and the last year he cowboyed, he grossed $720.
Dang.
And there was 4 of us siblings at that time, and So he left the ranch and went to work for a road construction. That was about 42 or something, right after starting World War II, and they was building that big air base at Amarillo,
Yes, sir.
and he was running a bulldozer and a maintainer up there.
I wonder how much more was his pay doing that?
I don't know, but you know that your friend there, boy who used to go over and rope with, what was his name?
Hayden Tooley.
Yeah, he worked out there.
Yep.
And he said he seen the payroll deal one time, and I asked him to get a copy of it. I wanted to see, but he never did. So
Yes, sir.
they got paid by the hour, you know.
Oh, yes, sir. So it's probably a little more than $720 a year.
Yeah, $60 a month.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And that's probably not any benefits. Did y'all probably got beef, or no? Or did you say he was day working?
No, he's working by the month.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yeah, the house is furnished, and I assume probably furnished beef, but we had chickens and milk cows, stuff like that. I don't ever remember being hungry, you
Yes,
know.
sir.
We just didn't have much of anything else. That is right in the middle of the 30s, you know, the Great Depression. Nobody had anything.
Yes, sir. Do you ever remember a time back then where you wanted to do something other than cowboy?
I don't think there was ever any question what I wanted to do, but that's all. You know, we didn't, living out on the ranch like that, we didn't go to town much. We didn't know there was anything else, I guess, but
Just everybody cowboys.
around where we were, yeah. There's some oil field people there. You know, we knew them, but
And where was this?
that is at La Force,
Up in the Panhandle.
Panhandle, yeah.
Yes, sir.
It's about 12 miles this side of Pampa.
Yes, sir.
I bet you know where Pampa is.
Yes, sir.
And
Yeah. I grew up in Memphis,
is that,
so
yeah, I know exactly where Memphis is.
right down the road from. Because
Clarendon.
when did you go to Clarendon?
I left school in the 10th grade and went to work out there where Dad was when I was born,
Yes, sir.
and I went to work for that ranch there for a little while, and it was a cow and calf, about 500 cow, you know, 50 section ranching, I'm guessing, but I worked there for a couple of 3 months, and maybe a month, and then they moved me down to a batch camp
Yes, sir.
down there. It was a real good house, had electricity and everything, but it's all wood. You had to burn wood for heat
Yes, sir.
and cooking. Big old wood cook stove there. But I never did get that thing hot enough to boil water. I hated to put that wood in there because I was having to chop it.
Yes, sir.
But anyway, there was another ranch right up the creek there, a river, 7 or 8 miles. And they had a bunkhouse and a cook and all that stuff. And so I went to work, got a job there and moved up there. And my job was to wrangle horses of the morning. It was just a small outfit, and this is in the winter with feeding. But I had to wrangle horses, and another boy living there, he milked the cows, and another one done something else, but I'd wrangle them things way before daylight, and we'd be hooked up and loaded with cake and gone pretty early.
Yes, sir.
And I was there, I guess, 2 or 3, 4 months. I don't really remember, but Boots was at the JA's, and the 1st of February, he'd got a hold of me and said, "There's an amount of horses open down here. If you want to come down here, it might be better than what you're doing." So,
How did he get a hold of you?
I think he wrote me a letter, but I really don't remember. They wasn't a whole lot of communication
Yes, sir.
in them days.
Yes, sir.
They had a few of them old ranch phones around, just party lines, but they didn't work half the time. I'm thinking he wrote me a letter.
Yes, sir.
But I went there. I got there the first day of February 1950. And the wagon wasn't out, but they run a floating crew. They just worked from camp to camp, gathering stuff they'd missed in the fall, branding a few. JA's was unique. They never gathered the bulls back in them days. They had calves coming year round, so every time you throw a herd together, you had some sorting to do or branding. And been there about a month. We was at the Hickman, what they call the Hickman camp, and it's kind of down in the lower end of the Paladura. But they sent Boots and another boy up to headquarters to start the broncs, and they got one batch started. They rode them 5 times. I've heard Boots tell you that. We just 2 times in the corral, 3 times outside. But when they was penning the second bunch, his horse fell in and broke his shoulder or something. So they sent me up there to finish them out. Or, I think it's 48 or 50 that year. There's something I've heard, and this is a long time ago, so I don't. Boots claims was getting $15, but I think it was 10. But they took you off in the payroll and but he probably remembers better than I do. But
so when you guys are going from camp to camp and traveling, everything's horseback, right? There weren't trailers really a lot.
No, I never seen a JA horse in a trailer or a pickup.
Till what year you think?
Well, it's after I left there in 73. I'm in 57. I worked there from February 50 to March of 57, and Mooney fired the foreman there that morning. And I lasted about 2 weeks. Left. He'd brought somebody up there from South Texas that kind of didn't know what was going on. But
the way he cowboyed was a little different than what you guys were used to.
Oh Lord, yeah, the day I left, they'd come in there they'd quit running the wagon, was just working out of camps or headquarters, but we was at headquarters. He come in there about 3 o'clock one morning and said, we need to go over here and round Battle Creek. And Battle Creek's a pasture about the size of Croton.
Dang.
And this is 3 o'clock in the evening. I told him I believe y'all can do without me. But I left on good terms with Bonnie, though.
Yeah.
He give me a horse, just.
Did you ever hear how that worked out?
Yeah, 15.
He didn't last long.
Oh, yeah?
That guy.
15,000 acres. Was he just naive?
Well, I don't know. I didn't stay long enough to really know
Yes, sir.
what, but
So you were a fan of the foreman that had been let go.
yeah, me and him he had been there. He was a range boss when I first went there, and Bill Word was the manager, and Bill retired and moved CH up, and
C.H. Long.
CH Long,
Yes, sir.
but he was such a good guy, He was on the cover of Life magazine back in '49, and God, he got tow sacks full of mail from women that wanting to come out. He'd just bring a sack out there and dump it out, and we'd all read it, But the kind of guy he was. Lone Star Beer offered him $20,000 a year for a 5-year contract to endorse the beer. They said, you don't have to drink it. And he wouldn't do it.
Really?
Old John Brown, an old 50-some-odd-year-old. C.H. had talked to a Baptist preacher, and he advised him probably wouldn't be a good idea. But John told him, you ought to talk to the Pope.
Talk to a different preacher.
Yeah.
$20,000 in 1950 would go a long way.
That was big money, big
I wonder what that'd be equivalent to today.
I wouldn't have no idea.
Wow. I'll have to do some research. That's interesting.
Yeah, and
So where'd you go after the JAs?
I messed around a little bit. One time when I was there, me and Cowboy, we got just about through branding, and Herschel Tipton, he said, let's go to Elko. So I said, let's go.
Elko, Nevada?
Yeah. He'd been there before, but so we left out one evening, made it to Umbrella. We beered up Umbrella, got up the next morning, made it to Trinidad, called Vermejo Park, ranch we was going to, maybe we could get a job there, but they had just got through. So we went on, we made it to Walsenburg, and Herschel was getting thirsty, so we pulled in, I don't know how long we there, but way up in the night there, some cowboy rode his horse in the saloon where we were trying to buy beer for his horse, and they run him out. And so we goes on out. Herschel got his pistol out. Now, we stopped at a station to do something. Herschel got a pistol out, said he wanted to kill a zoot suitor. Yeah, I have no idea.
He knew I was about to ask.
But, and a policeman pulled in there, and Herschel he dropped that pistol in a half barrel of water. They stick them old inner tubes in to see where the leak was. Yeah. And we talked to him a little bit, and he left, and Herschel got the pistol, and we pulled out. The next day we made it to Pagosa Springs, I think, or stayed all night, and the next day we went on. We got Salt Lake City and just rolled their bedrolls out on the side of the lake there. It's just 2-lane highway then. And got up the next morning, went on into Elko, checked into Pioneer Hotel, and that bartender asked, "Y'all looking for a buckaroo job?" And Herschel told me, "Yeah, we're looking for a cowboy job." So he went. The bartender left, just walked down there. In a minute, he come back and he said, "Doug Yvonne pick y'all up here at 5 o'clock in the morning if you want to." And so we took it. We was wanting to rest up a day or two, but thought we better go to work anyway. And so there, we went out there 45 miles north of Elko to, I'm trying to think of the name of that dang ranch. There was a boy, the guy from Silverton, Texas, he was a Texas boy. He was a wagon boss. And
So you got to see a fellow Texan when you got there?
Yeah. Herschel just worked one day.
This was the Indian guy, right?
Yeah,
Herschel
Tipton. I know he got head rights from some tribe there in Oklahoma. Good cowboy. I've heard Ed Hashurst talk about him. Moffitt's was the name of that ranch, but they're out of business now. But they claimed, most of it was BLM land. They had a little bit of deeded land, I think, but
How come Herschel only lasted one day?
he didn't like it for some reason.
And Herschel owned the car. So Wes is in Nevada with his saddle, bedroll, and his clothes. No car.
No car.
I come back on the train. But,
How long did you stay there?
well, we got there about the 4th of July and we finished Brandon about the middle of August, if I remember it right. And then they pulled over the wagon over there to some big hay fields and started putting up hay. And it was all horses, My job, run the sickle that cut the hay down. And I don't know if y'all have ever seen one of them. You got a lever on this left side that you push down and raise that sickle up to go over the rocks and stumps. And I'd tore it up a couple, 3 times. Bernie, the wagon boss, said, "I've got a couple of 2-year-olds here that ain't never been started. You might rather do that." Harness that team every morning, mow, tear it up. But so yeah, I did. And I started them, and then after Labor Day, I quit and just caught the train.
Rode a train.
Rode the train all the way. We went right across the middle of that Great Salt Lake, I think.
So when you caught the train, was it like a train for people, or were you
Yeah, it was a passenger train.
Passenger
Mm-hmm.
train. Yeah.
Where'd you get off of it at?
Pampa, Texas, but I had to change.
Didn't you send your saddle ahead of time in the mail or something and to your somewhere?
That saddle maker there in Elko made me a sack, and I think I just shipped it on the train. I don't really remember, but
you had to send
yeah. But I rode the train from Denver to Amarillo and changed again there and on down to Pampa.
Yes, sir.
And somebody picked me up there. I went right. I'd called Bill Word. He's the manager still in. And yeah, he said, come on down. We're fixing to start weaning.
So that would have been in 58?
No, that would have been in 51. That's,
Oh, gotcha.
or 52.
Yes, sir.
Let's see, I think it was 51 when me and Herschel went out there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And
So we went back to the JAs.
Back to the JAs.
Mm-hmm.
I got you. So you weren't gone long from the JAs.
2 or 3 months.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. I see.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing. It's where the 460s had all that lease country up there north of Elko.
Yes, sir.
It was where I was at earlier was just a mile north of
Oh, really?
where they was at. So, yeah, but yeah, I got back to the JAs, you know, and we hung around there and made me straw boss, and then the wagon boss left where they made. And I didn't ask for that job, you know. I've never told anybody that I was a good cowboy or a horse trainer or anything, but they asked me, so I run the wagon a couple of years.
How did you enjoy managing people rather than just being a cowboy?
It's that was that was a little easier than wagon boss at Wagners,
Yes, sir.
but they had quit running the wagon. You know, I was straw boss there. They pulled that wagon in the fall of '54. Monty said he would never pull it out again because it cost too much to run it. He said it's costing $125 a day to keep it out. But see, most of the cowboys like myself was just drawing $90 a month. So, and there's probably 15 or 16 of us most time when the wagon was out. But we pulled it in that fall of '54 and unhorsed them old horses, drove them down there to Griffin Hills and turned them out, let them live out their life. But Tom and Jerry, they were Perchins. Tom and Jerry was the lead team, Match Jones. Dopey and Hyena was the wheel horses. There's 150, 200 pounds bigger. Pigeon and Badger pulled the other wagon, the hoodlum wagon with the water barrels and stuff.
Yes, sir.
But
Did you enjoy being a wagon boss?
well, it had its advantages, sure did. Of course, you made a little more. I drawed $250
Yes,
a
sir.
month, and but wasn't. I didn't have near as big a crew as we did at Wagners, and everybody was right. You had to stay there, you know. Either at the wagon after they quit running it, you still had to sleep in teepee or bedroll or the bunkhouse, and everybody was right there to get up and go to work. It was a little different at Wagners, you know, even though they kept the first few years we was here, they kept it out year round, but there was a pickup went in every night to headquarters. It had a plyboard box on the back with benches in it. Most of us had a bedroll at the wagon and a bed there in the bunkhouse. Come in and take a shower, clean up or something. But
Yes, sir.
when you're way off, might stay out there 2 or 3 days. But
Were there? How similar was it to the way the Wagners and the JA operates today, as far as just little things, maybe when you're branding, for instance, like were there guys, some of them tied off and some of them would dally, or was there a certain way that everybody did it back then, like some big differences than how we do it today?
well, yeah, nobody dallied there at the JAs.
Really?
Did I? No. But the the dragging and stuff's the same. But
Everybody was tied off.
yeah, oh yeah, and
Worked outside mostly.
a lot of theirs they branded outside. I branded outside more Wagners than I did, but it is just straight wood fire.
And everybody would hold them up?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. If you're branding outside, you try to get to a corner, but most of the time at JAs we put them in a pen. You know, they had grails here, yonder, and there. But I branded more outside at Wagners than I ever did there at the JAs. But
When you branded in a corral at JA's, did they pull the cows off the cows? No.
I'd never seen that done till I went day working 4/6s. Excuse me. We could have them branded time we could strip the cows off. But they do so much more to them nowadays, you know. Lord, they just give them that old 2cc blackleg serum and turn them loose.
Yes, sir. If you had your way, would you leave the cows on them now?
Yeah,
You would?
yeah. I like it better, you know. You might want to let it sort a few off if you had a big bunch, but I like it. It makes them easier to drag, to me. Now, maybe kind of set the calf up a little bit. They seem like they're not running
Yes, sir.
much, but
Did on either the JA or the Wagner at that time, was there a lot of cross fences, or was it mainly just big pastures?
oh God, it's just big pastures. In that JA's, in that number 1, there's 100 sections.
Wow.
Yeah, you know, there's 5 or 6 drives in there. And the cattle, you know, are they just run in a certain place. They're creatures of habit.
Yes, sir.
They stay. But you'd always, like we brand here today, well then brand over here tomorrow, you'd have a branded calf or
Yes, sir.
2 in there. And
Just keep working through them till you get them all.
yeah, and just going on. But like that Battle Creek and Pilgrim, they were big pastures, Griffin. Same with Wagners. I bet they wasn't 40 or 50 pastures on Wagners when I come down there. Now then, there's probably over 100.
Yes, sir.
You know, like, just for instance, that big sack of Wista, when I come there, there's 5 drives in that thing.
Dang.
And
With 2 drives a day or
No, just
one a day? Yes, sir.
But like right across the road from where Cole lives, full decount, that Brushy
Yes, sir.
was just one big pasture. Now it's cut up 4 or 5, ain't it? We run 500. When I was a wagon boss, we had about 500 cows in there.
In that one pasture?
Yeah.
Dang.
Same with Long Creek. Same with Big Sackawisa.
How long were you at Wagners?
58 years plus.
Wow.
Yeah, I was wagon boss 12 years. And then I supervised the horse outfit for 25 years.
Yes, sir. And how many months, days, or weeks, however, how many of that, doesn't it take you guys a pretty long time to brand in the spring?
Oh, Lord. It took a long time, you know, just soon as the calves got old enough to start, we'd start. And I know one year there, about the first year I was running the wagon, we was getting around close to the 4th of July. And I asked Tony, I said, you think we could take off, go to Stanford? Oh, by grabs, we got to get these cattle branded. It's getting late and hot. But he come back around a day or two and said, yeah, if y'all want to go ahead.
Yes, sir.
And go. But it is after the 4th of July.
Dang.
But, you know, but that was just one crew doing it, and we'd pull off, do something else, and then rain or something would hold you up a few days. Like they are, like we was then, we had the wagon and all our horses, say on the west side, and it come big rain, you couldn't do nothing, you just sitting there. But now then, where they just work out of headquarters, they can go, Brad can go any direction if generally dry enough somewhere or do something. But
Yeah, you said that this is the first place you ever saw started using a horse trailer.
yeah, goosenecks come in 74, I think, is first gooseneck that was on the ranch. I don't. They might have seemed like we had a little old one horse trailer that we pulled around some just to haul wild cattle that we had tied up or something, haul them in. But
How did that change your day to day? Or did it much?
yeah, it changed quite a bit. You know, you could, where we'd generally catch horses in the morning and then long trot or lope to the backside, you could, as you know, we'd just load a couple goosenecks up and haul around there to the backside.
Yes, sir.
Save a couple of hour or two to that. And the computer and the cell phone was a big, you know, the computers was, the trailers was the starting and the computers
Yes, sir.
come in. That's was a big change. And then the cell phones,
Yes, sir.
the cell phones are big help. You know, you don't want to ride up to the herd talking on it, Brad jump on you.
Yes, sir.
But they're really just another way of communicating, you know. You having trouble on the drive, or if y'all are just gathering bulls, you call over and say, "I've found him over here," you know.
Yes, sir.
Save a lot of riding. But
Was there big semi trucks prior to '74? Is that where when y'all were shipping? Or were you still using trains and semi trucks showed up about the early '70s?
no, there on the JAs we shipped on the train a lot, but there's a few cattle trucks around, and they sold their calves right off in the cow.
Wow.
But and then a couple of years we shipped them on the train, but that shipping point was there at Ashtola, that little town up west of Clarendon, and it is just a 2-lane highway then, and the stock pens was on this side, the railroad was on the other side, and one year there the railroad made up a special train, 40 cars, but we had 2,000 that we was shipping Medicine Bow, Wyoming, but the highway patrol and the sheriff, the spur wasn't long enough to pull all them cars across 287, you know. He just backed 5 or 6 in there, but the law stopped the traffic till the train could back them cars in there, and then we'd get them loaded. They'd stop them again, pull out, hook on. Took
Kind of an ordeal.
Yeah, I don't guess you could do that. Now them old stock pens are still there.
Yes, sir.
JAs, they still use them, some just for working cattle. But
Yes, sir.
yeah.
So you've seen a lot of changes come through the Wagners, I'm sure, over the course of 60 years.
Oh yeah, it's changed a bunch. Most of them I didn't like, but
My dad talked about how screw worms were a big deal. I was talking to Boots about it, but really more like whenever they, eradicated them more or less. Was that a time frame that was significant? I remember as a kid, I remember him saying something about it.
yeah. When they said they was going to do that, I didn't think they could do it. You know that, boy. One time there at the JA, we just pulled up Brandon and went going back and doctoring worms. They were so bad.
Yes, sir.
But in the day, anything that had a fresh wound got screw worms.
Yes, sir.
And if they didn't get doctored, they was dead. You know,
Yes, sir.
they just, God. Even when they were still pretty prevalent, when I come to Wagners, you could just run up in a bunch of cattle and throw your loop. If you caught something, he probably had worms.
Really?
You know,
Was that the only way to check to see if he did, is catch them?
you could see them, you know.
Yes, sir.
If they had them bad, they'd be standing out there
Yes, sir.
with the ears down.
You bet.
But, yeah, I'll tell you a story. Tony, he worked there all his life nearly, and he'd been the manager. And one of them A&M, after they had turned a bunch of them sterile flies loose, he come up there one day, told Tony, we suspect that there's a stud fly still down there in that cedar top country. We want to see if we can round them cattle and spray them and get him. Tony told him, hell, fella, there ain't no way we could round them cattle. He'll just have to die of old age. But, you know, that's just a typical educated guy that thought that we could just round them things and get that one fly they thought was there.
Yeah.
But
That's crazy.
yeah, I didn't see how in the world they could eradicate them things, bad as they were, but they sure did.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
How did that, did it change much of day to day after that as far as?
No, it is, you just didn't have to, when they were so bad, you know, he'd have guys riding and doctoring all summer, and they didn't have to do that anymore. They'd just leave the prowling up to the camper. And
That's what I mainly remember is just my dad was talking about how there was one older gentleman at the Pitchfork that was kind of grumpy because he's about the experience, because he said that those screwworms helped make a lot of good horses.
oh, rope horses, yep, you bet.
What'd they doctor them with? Get rid of them.
Chloroform and smear 62. I doubt if you could buy either one of them now, could you?
Shoot, I don't.
I know that.
I've never bought chloroform, so I know that.
It would kill them, and then that old black smear 62 just covered the wound up. It'd keep a fresh fly from getting back on them, or supposed to. But yeah, if they didn't get doctored, well, they'd have sure, even wildlife, deers and stuff like that, get a little fresh blood on them. They probably didn't make it.
Yes, sir. Whenever you talk about day working at the 4.6s, that was just what time frame of your life was that?
That was 2015.
Oh, recently.
Yeah. Yeah, I left. I actually, the fall of 2015, they was going to Montana, Joe and Reggie and the bunch, and I don't think Reggie went, but I was still working for Wagners, but I took off and went with them.
Yes, sir.
And then I actually left Wagners in the spring of 16 and went right straight to up there, Reggie's, to Brand.
Yes, sir.
And then that fall, I went with them. They worked, through the fall work.
I remember seeing you there.
And yeah, that's the first time I met you.
Please check out dalebrisby.com for all your apparel needs. That's where Rodeo Time lives. And if you want to look and feel like a champion, then that's where you're going to need to go. RodeoTime.com.
Didn't you and Navajo make every trip up north that they went?
Yeah. Yeah, I hold him. God, from, the first fall we went to Nebraska, South Dakota, 2 ranches in Montana, 3 ranches in Wyoming, and 2 ranches in Nevada where they had cattle. But I helped Doc the spring of 21. There, I guess Phil got crippled or something. Mm-hmm. I just kind of shagged him bears for him. But
and then here lately, you've been getting to day work with Cole.
Yeah.
Keep him in line.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to go back. A lot of it I don't really recognize. It's changes fences. Even some of the corrals that I use are not there anymore.
Yes, sir.
They've moved them to a better place or more strategic, but whatever. But
Some of them are still there, though, like cob pens. It's pretty cool that last time you were there, you were 30 years old, and now you're nearly 100.
it's
And when it got slow, didn't your crew build some of them? And
yeah. God dang, I'm in the summer, yeah. If there wasn't no worms or doctor or nothing, instead of laying everybody off, we'd just repair corrals or build some new fence or
Yes, sir.
whatever, just keep the crew together.
Yes, sir.
And now the difference, they just use day workers when you get through. They just all leave, and I guess it's cheaper, I don't know.
Is it more or less people to do the job today, do you feel like?
Less,
Yes, sir.
yeah. It's less, yeah.
Why is that, you reckon?
Well, the cattle are gentler,
Yes, sir.
and the pastures are smaller, and they've done a lot of brush control in a lot of places,
Yes, sir.
but it don't take. And the helicopter, he'll throw them in trap a lot of times the day before, so it doesn't take as many cowboys to spread out and gather them big pastures. But
What percentage of the time do y'all use a helicopter now?
I don't know the percentage, but a lot of it just has to do with the weather and kind of how things are going. But he likes to gather what we can gather, and that thing, he's got so many to work that if he can stay, he kind of keeps it out in front of us, and having a set ready to work every day, kind of help so that it doesn't go into July like he was talking about.
Mhm.
Calves are big and hot, and then now there's 2 herds, so when he gets done branding, then he's got to wean the fall calves, so it kind of helps them helicopters stay ahead.
And you got multiple crews now too, right?
Yeah, this spring he's kind of splitting up into a few crews to just kind of help get it knocked out before he starts doing the fall. So the fall calves. So it's worked out pretty good, I think, for him so far.
You've been here how many years?
In October, we live in this house for 2 years, and I day worked for him nearly almost a year there once before they bought this deal.
More fun camping or day working?
Well, I had fun day working, but I like my family being here every day.
It's probably a lot better with having your own.
Especially now that Hayes can go, and he likes to put out mineral, and he likes to go with Pawpaw. And a lot of times when we go prowl or something, or like when we were gathering bulls or something, I'd go make a big jerk, and then Wes just leads Hayes around through the pasture, and they usually find more bulls than I do anyway. So,
So you get to go. It's both of y'all. Well, there'll be days where it's both of y'all and Hayes.
yeah, nearly all the time.
Dang. That's pretty special, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. We're blessed. It's really a God thing, really, that kind of our trip, mine and Marley's trip, and then, we went and tried that deal in East Texas, and it sure wasn't going to work out. And I called Brad, and him he gave me a job, and Wes lives 15 miles down the road, so it's pretty good, pretty cool that him and Hayes can be together every day, and
Yeah.
come out here and ride every day, and then Brad lets him keep his horse here, so Wes's horse here, so it all kind of works out good.
I'm sure you've earned a spot to where
Yeah.
60 years. Yes.
divine intervention.
Well,
Yeah.
we will allow you to keep your horse here, even though you're just day working.
kind of earned a spot at pretty much any camp, I'm sure.
It's a huge blessing.
Brad seems like a pretty good guy to work for.
Oh yeah, he's good. He runs a crew good. He run that thing. I don't know how many years, but he's got a lot of men. You're talking about managing men. It should be pretty stressful, I'm sure, but he does a good job.
Yeah. Him and Tell brothers?
Yes, sir.
Brothers.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Brad, good. Cool. Yeah, I driving down the road the other day and passed him, honking at him. He never looked over. Coming through here.
Oh yeah.
I was going to say, I've always said, if you're going to Cowboy, you accept up front that you're never going to be rich and you're going to be injured from time to time.
Yes, sir.
But the hardest job on the ranch, the cowboy's wife has that.
Yes, sir.
Just running errands, penning the horses, trapping them, doing cooking for the crew.
Yeah. Pretty isolated, too.
Yeah. But it's been a good life for me, I don't know. I have no idea what I would have done if I hadn't have done this.
What do you think has helped you stay so sharp this many years?
I don't know. I've been blessed with pretty good health. And I've never been hurt, a broke leg and a broke wrist is about the worst things.
Yes, sir.
One bad knee one time, mare kicked me on the knee that give me a lot of trouble but it doesn't bother me now.
Yes, sir.
But
what about mentally? Do you think just the fact that you've never quit working?
I don't know. Sometimes I question but
I guess I'm asking for myself, really. I asked him one time, I said, how come you think you're so old and so healthy, still get on a horse good, and just handy, still ropes good, knows where to be and what's going on. And he said he has drank what he wanted, ate what he wanted, smoked cigarettes for 30 years. He said, I think the main thing is your stress. How stressed the guy stays.
Yes, sir.
Right?
pretty close, you can
Your mental.
you can let it bother you, or
Yes, sir.
what is, and what ain't. And yesterday's gone, and tomorrow's not here yet. So take it day by day. Don't worry about things that might have been.
Yes, sir.
You can't change it, so don't worry about it.
Are there any other just cool? See, so that seems like something that you've reminded yourself of through different seasons in your life. Are there any other core lessons, life lessons that you've held on to through those seasons that you remind yourself of, similar to what you just described about maybe that cowboying has taught you?
Well, I don't know. I can't think of any just off the top of my hat right now.
What about how you told me there, how you would realign it if you could start over?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that. I put my job first, family second, and the Lord third. But if I had it to do over, I'd put him first, family second, and then the job.
Dang.
But I thought back when it's all starting and stuff, you know, I thought that is probably the most important. Of course, guess maybe it was when I was still single, but after I married, you know, and got a family, still I didn't put them first. I
Yes, sir.
kind of took care of the job. And
What about your relationship with your boss, or just, I mean, having stayed at Wagners for 60 years, I mean, that's a very loyal employee. Can you speak to what it's like working for someone and keeping that relationship going?
well, the boss has changed several times in my tenure, you know.
Yes, sir.
I was the wagon boss, and I wanted to say, Tony asked me if I would, they was having trouble. He picked me up one evening, said, I need you to pick these men up in the morning and take this wagon that Johnny, that was the head honcho, he said, he called me today and said, I want you to do something about that wagon today. Somebody had been going up there telling him something, you know. There was some of the cowboys wasn't getting along with the wagon boss, but anyway, I worked for him a couple of years before he died. He was old when I started, you know, in 63. But they had told him to pick somebody. He'd been down Dallas, and they just sent him back. So, you know, there ain't nothing we can do. You're not going to live much longer. So they had told him to pick somebody, and he'd asked me to just stay with him, you know, and take his position as ranch foreman. But I didn't want to do that. I told him, just let me stay. I was just 30 years old, maybe, or 31 or 2. And running the wagon, you know, I was whooping and slashing and cowboying every day. And his job, you know, was managing. He's in a pickup 75 or 80% of the time. So I didn't want to do that. And so he got GL. He picked GL up. And I worked for me and GL worked together for 10 years. And then when Mr. Biggs died, they hired a new CEO or whatever you call him, ranch manager. And that's when they moved me to Whiteface. Mm-hmm. It was, it was a big shake-up. They'd call me in the office that morning. I thought we was gonna talk about lining. This was in the summer, and I thought, well, we're gonna he won't talk about when we're gonna start weaning calves or something, but I walk in there and he said, "You ain't the wagon boss no more." So I said, "Fine, what's the matter?" "Well, we're just making some changes. And, we'd like for you to move to Whiteface. Take that over." So I told him, you know, that's where all the mares and colts, stud horses, but there's about a 700 or 800 cow resident herd there that went with it. And so I told them, you know, well, I'm not qualified to run a horse outfit, but they said they thought I could or would. So that's how I moved to Whiteface. But then that guy, that was in 75, and then Dick Yeager, he done some good stuff, you know. He wasn't a cowboy, he didn't, and he wasn't a farmer, but I don't know. He done a lot of mesquite poison grubbing and fixed some of the ranch houses up. We got to be, at that time, you know, we wasn't real good friends, but we got to be. I got to where I liked him.
Yes, sir.
But he died in about 90. Another boy, well, yeah, Jim Smith, he was just working there. He took Dick Yeager's place. He lasted about 8 years or somewhere, and then Hawley, another cowboy, took over for a while. But
Yes, sir.
yeah, I got along with all of them. Yeah.
Running the wagon and punching cows.
Yeah.
You've done that for the high road of your family. You've talked about, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I really didn't, and I'd called a guy or two, a ranch or two, and you know, that T.O. ranch up there in New Mexico.
Yes, sir.
I knew that guy that had that lease, and he was looking for somebody to move up there and kind of ramrod that thing, but I decided to tough it out.
Yes, sir.
But it turned out all right, you know, I don't have no regrets.
Yeah.
Wagners had a good retirement plan that helped a lot of guys there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm really thankful that I toughed it out.
Yes, sir.
Because most old cowboys, you know, when they get to where they can't hold up on the ranch, why, they just have to move to town. They ain't saved enough money to buy a house. And
Yes, sir.
they're just living on Social Security. So they worked all their life living in somebody else's house, riding somebody else's horses, working somebody else's cattle. And they don't pay it. You can't save any money on cowboy wages, but I think it's a lot better now. I think most of those ranches have 401k and
Yes, sir.
insurance and stuff, you know. Even to me, the day workers, now they draw, you know, 140, 50 a month or 25. But if you're married, if your wife don't have a good job to kind of supplement, you can't make it.
Yes, sir. Yeah, day working.
Yeah.
Yeah, you sure can't.
I don't know, we went up, me and Cole went up and helped Tom Morehouse a couple of weeks ago, brand there one day. And they paid us, but we went in Cole's pickup. I don't know probably how much money it cost to fill that old thing up. And if we'd have blowed out a tire, you know, he would have been in the hole.
Yeah. Yes, sir. What walk me through the year, like just kind of your job responsibilities as a camper here, Cole.
Well, I just try to, they give you a certain amount of cows to tend to, and it's just kind of up to you to make sure they got mineral and
He's the camp manager.
yeah, pretty much year round. They just pretty much give you this camp's 34,000 acres, and they pretty much giving you a ranch that you don't own to tend to, and a place for your family to live. And I just keep the fences up and mineral out, and in the winter we feed a lot of cake, and you know, we just turned bulls out the other day. It's kind of up to you to get them bulls scattered and picked up when you pick bulls up, and then when it comes time to work your country, just kind of help the wagon boss kind of know where the cattle are, what to do, how to gather them, or where, you know, just kind of help him out. He ain't been here every day like you, so you ought to know kind of what's going on and what would work and what won't work. And they give you a string of horses that are yours as long as you work here, and it's kind of up to you to make something out of them. And you got some young ones, and try to sell one or two a year, or one a year, or one every other year, or whatever, and just tend to them and raise your family.
Yeah.
Try to teach. My biggest deal, he was talking about earlier about not getting, we ain't going to get rich, but, you know, if I had a job where I was getting really rich or something, or making a bunch of money, then I'd only see Marley and the kids. Probably not in the morning, but when I got in the evening, whatever time that would be. And here, you know, when we're feeding all winter, get up before daylight, and my 3-year-old's already gets up with me and has his apple juice, and I have my coffee, and then he knows this camp probably just as good as I do as far as the roads. And when he's ready to go home and you turn the wrong way, he knows that ain't the way to the house. So it's a good place. You know, he wants to go all the time, and it teaches them to get up and work, and teaches them to, they see you work and see you getting something out of it. And Brad's been good to us. He give Hayes a horse, and so he loves riding all the time, and got it fortunate and blessed to have that, a good horse for him to ride that ain't gonna hurt him, you know, ain't gonna get him in a bind. And it's just nice to be able to take him and teach him something that he can do something with. It's really, Cody Taylor told me one time, you know, we all come in here naked and we're all gonna leave that way probably, so it don't matter if you're living in your house or their house or your house or whatever, just kind of try to sharpen your walk with the Lord and raise your family to do the same, and it really don't matter how we all ended out. So just try to keep that on our minds and grow and help everybody, and try to make Hayes a little smarter than I was maybe.
How long does it take you guys to work this country in the spring and fall?
Well, we just started 3 weeks ago, and I think about 3 weeks ago. But it'd take a couple months to brand. And
But I mean this camp.
This camp, it all just take, right now we're lightly stocked because of the drought last year, but like if everything's good, this thing ought to run about 1,000 cows. And, you know, you can work about, like he was saying, is all kind of chopped up, but with the pastures and fences, but you ought to get it done in a week and a half or something, or a week, or a couple weeks for sure.
Yeah, you bet. Dang. Your dad come over?
Yeah, he's come some. I think he's going to come again next week maybe.
So it's
Hard to get him off the golf course.
hard to get him off the golf course.
Yep.
Yeah. I bet he's golfing full now, though.
Yep. Yeah, he likes it.
Yeah. And is that where he built his house?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, on the third hole of golf resort deal.
Dang. That's special, though, that Hayes, your dad, Wes, everybody's here.
Yep.
You get to go and do and just have, experience life with.
Yeah. Yeah, you can get caught up, and I've done it myself, but kind of learning through some trials and things now. But you can get caught up, wanting so much and wanting more, needing that, needing this, and think you need all that. But if you just starting to kind of see now that just having your family and having a good place to live and work is really means a whole lot more than all the crap you can come up with.
There's
You
definitely
ain't supposed to build up treasures for heaven, not treasures on earth, because one of these days we ain't gonna be able to have nothing here anyway. So being this so close to him has been pretty cool.
yeah.
It's been a blessing. It's pretty humbling.
Yeah, there's definitely trade-offs. There's people that do get nicer cars and houses and probably a cool vacation, but then, like you said, they don't have those days, they don't have those times, they don't have the mornings.
Yeah.
But as far as you working with, it was the last, I want to say about 7 years, 5, 6. Really, the last 2 or 3, it got even more intense with my dad. The last 2, 3 years of his life,
Yeah.
got to be there at the ranch with him and worked with him and we'd buck horses but those last 2 years of I value that time. Like, that gave me perspective on
It can be over.
the time you get to spend with your family.
Yeah.
So like, whether it's you and Hayes or you and Wes or you and your dad, like it just those. And at the time I wasn't making. That was probably when I made the least amount of money ever in my life.
Yeah.
But it's the time in my life that I value the most looking
Yeah.
back. So
Yeah, losing your dad, that's how it
Making
can just
memories.
change pretty quick. And
Making memories.
yes, sir. Well, we normally wrap these up with life advice. Do you have any what before I do that, what lessons specifically maybe that he hasn't shared? Is there something?
that's what I was about to say. And when me and Marley got married, we moved to Wagners, caught camp over there, and it was awesome. It was looking back, now we're back here, and we're like, we should have stayed, and we should have never left. And told Brad the same thing. He's like, yeah, but you wouldn't have learned everything, wouldn't have grown. But when we got married, it was just like he was talking about, and she's sitting in there listening and knows this, but man, my job was the first thing on my mind. Like, I wanted to do everything. I wanted the pins to be perfect. I wanted to ride my horses. I wanted to please my bosses. I wanted to do all that. And she was last, and that was just the way it was. And I think the biggest thing I've learned is living and moving and all that. And then working for Brad's taught me a lot of it too. But him talking about he's 89 years old and he wishes he could have done family better. And I think it's a blessing because Heath Omby's the manager here and Brad Good's the wagon boss, and they both think that there's not a cow in the place. It's more important than your family. And both of them have said that. And it's just, after all the chaos and all the BS and all the stupid stuff I've done and do to this day, if we can just, I think the biggest thing I've learned from him is tend to your family, walk with the Lord and then tend to your family and then do your job here, because this camp will be here every day,
Right.
Just chip at it every day and care about it and tend to it like we own it, and everything ought to be good.
I remember when you were going to Hill College, college rodeoing. We both were, but you were going to school and you were rodeoing, but then you went to get a job for the school. You were already there, so it made sense. Tending just livestock, whatever. I don't know what all you were doing, but I guess you'd put me down for a reference. A lady called me and said, we think we're going to hire Cole Hatfield. What do you think? And I laughed, and I said, well, you'll probably soon find out that for the job you have him doing, that you are underpaying him because he's going to work. His work ethic is going to far exceed whatever value you're bringing him. You know, in that exchange of value, you do this much work for this much pay. I said, he will beat you at that game every day. And whenever I tell Willie here, he checks the videos for new interns when they apply. And he narrows it down to, like, you know, if we get 50 applicants, he'll narrow it down and bring me the top 10. And I say, don't bring me, and this might sound bad, but I've just had bad experiences with people that walk slow.
Yep.
And most of the time they also blink and talk slow.
They're thinkers, not doers.
There may be exceptions to the rule, but yeah. I'm trying to, you know, it's a broad stroke of a rule for me. But anyway, the point is, when they get here, I've had to tell multiple interns, like, it takes you so long to saddle this horse. And I explain, there's your speed, and then there's Cole Hatfield's speed.
Yeah, a lot of times it gets me in trouble.
And because, like, staying with you those 2 weeks whenever we were weaning, I don't know how a man can get up, have breakfast, go saddle his horse and have it in the trailer, do all that, go from sleeping to sitting in the truck waiting on me. I don't know how a man can do that in 3.5 minutes, but you do it, you know? And so, like, I was setting my alarm earlier. The point is,
that's called loving what you do.
Yeah. And being efficient. You waste no time. But I tell these interns, like, there's your speed and there's Cole Hatfield's speed. You don't have to be Cole Hatfield fast, but you need to be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And has he always been like that, Wes?
Yeah. He's always been like that.
And so was he when he was 30.
Was he? Were you like that? Were you like that
Well, I don't remember. That.
You told me the other day that you used to, and then you got somewhere in there you figured out you were watching guys be a little smoother.
Yeah, that's true, you know, but
I'm working on it.
Well, the reason I bring that up to respond to what you're talking about, prioritizing your family, is I imagine that you probably, your version of putting your family before your job is probably nowhere near, like, it. You almost sound like you're going to, like, take a break from work or something, or just maybe, like, it sounds like you feel like there might be a risk of you're not working that hard. But I imagine you taking just a small break one afternoon to go spend some time with Marley, you've probably far exceeded that exchange of value, in my opinion. You know, like, as a boss, Brad and Heath, they don't have to worry about you, you know, taking too much time off. You know, like, I bet you've probably far exceeded their expectations already. And so for you to go one afternoon or here or there, go do this or that with the family, I imagine is, your definition of priorities, I imagine, is a little different than most of the general public.
I don't know. They're probably way off, but I'm trying to do better.
Yeah.
I say get up, clean up, and show up.
That's pretty.
Everything that glitters ain't gold.
Yes, sir.
It's sure been a good life for me.
Yes, sir.
I can't think of much I'd change if I had the chance. Or
Yes, sir.
I wouldn't. There's some things, you know, I wouldn't do that I've done, but things I should have done that didn't do. But for the most part, I'd say I'm kind of happy with the way my life turned out.
That's worth a lot.
Yep.
I can't imagine being 90 years old. I feel like if I'm able to say that.
He just now started letting me saddle his horse. And it wasn't because he said start saddling him, it's because I said, I'm going to start saddling him.
Yes, sir.
You'll get there quicker than you think, Dale.
Yes, sir.
90 slipped up on me pretty quick.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Did your other siblings? I know Boots is still around. You said you grew up. There's 4 of you.
There was 8 of finally 4 boys and 4 girls.
There was just 4 at that time.
Yeah.
There's 8 of y'all total.
Yeah.
Were the other 6 cowboys?
There's 4 girls that
Cowgirls.
a couple of them married cowboys, and Joe is 10 years younger than me. He worked for Wagners for 50 years. And the baby of the family was a Down syndrome
Yes, sir.
boy that he couldn't have made it by himself, but he worked at the schoolhouse and
Yes, sir.
stuff like that, just janitor. But he lived to be 51 or 2
Yes, sir.
years old. It was pretty good life for a guy that had that. But 2 of the girls are dead, and the other 2 are scattered. One of them lives at College Station, one lives at Clarendon.
Is Joe still?
He retired the same time when, Cronky took over the ranch in the spring of 16, and that's when Joe retired also.
Yes, sir.
But
Is that when they sold?
yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, they might have took over 1st of April or something, but it was
Yes, sir.
1st of May when I left, or
You bet.
close to it. I hung around. They was having a horse sale, so I stayed an extra month there, just helped Trace with the horse sale.
Yes, sir.
And I met Mr. Cronky. He's a real nice guy.
Yes, sir.
Real quiet. He doesn't say much.
It was just a good time for you to step back.
I really didn't fit anymore. Because in 2000, after they wanted to go to an AI, and so they hired Trace, this guy, to take over, but they asked me, if I'd stay to help him get his feet on the ground.
Yes, sir.
And it's a good thing he's not a cowboy.
Yes, sir.
Ain't no way. He could have saddled up and went and pinned them mares or sorted them or something.
How long did you stay after he showed
15 years.
up?
Yeah, he was good.
Can you stay on a little longer? 15 years later.
Well, every time I'd get to thinking I'd want to go, but I knew then when the ranch sold. But
We worked out good with Nanny too.
yeah,
Y'all's house.
one story about Tracy. One time there, he said, I want to go get the mares this morning. All right, go get them. Bring them up. It's breeding day. He's gone about an hour and a half. He should have took about 30 minutes. And he come in was about 4 or 5. I said, well, where in the hell the rest of them? He said, well, I don't know where they went. So I got his horse and went and got him. But he wasn't a cowboy, but I guess.
Have cowboys always? Have you guys always roped your horses out of a herd to start the morning?
Yeah, when they still do.
Yes, sir.
I guess I don't know. They might keep them, but when we had the motor together, yeah,
Because there's a couple hundred in there.
yeah,
can't
they
just
That
walk
was
probably
the
in.
main point.
You can't just walk into 200 horses.
Yeah.
Yeah, them.
What were some of the big differences that you saw in Elko at that ranch up there?
But how gentle the cattle were. Coming off from J.A.'s where them cattle was wild and run. Them dang things there at Elko, you had to drive every one of them.
Yes, sir.
Even up on the side of a hill.
Yes, sir.
Down here you can holler at them or something. They'll kind of move on out. You have to go up there, drive her down. And they spread out further. God, they'd catch sections of country on one drive. And they'd be so far apart. But it is open, except sagebrush.
Yes, sir.
And they branded head and heeled everything. Them little bitty calves, they'd neck them, drag them out, and somebody heel them.
And they all dallied?
Yeah, long ropes. But them cattle, it didn't take near as many men. Them cattle was so gentle. Two men could hold the herd.
Damn.
And they might be at such open range, they might be 2 or 3 reps there, and everybody'd have his own brand in the fire. And whoever was necking, he'd call out what brand to go on this. And they'd kind of have everything mammied up so we get the right brand on.
Yes, sir.
But they was so gentle that they just wouldn't run off.
And what do you think the main reason for the difference in the way they flanked calves or didn't flank calves was? What would be the main reason they did it that way?
Tradition, I think.
Yes, sir.
Just tradition. As far as I know, even Bernie was a Texas boy, grew up there. Silverton and made his way out there somehow, but he didn't change nothing. He just went with
The way
how
they had been doing it.
always done it.
Did you kind of change it up a little bit and try to dally, or did you tie off?
I never did get to drag.
Boots was saying that a lot of the times back then it was mainly just 1 or 2 guys did all the roping.
Yeah.
So that was the case up there also.
Yeah, those, of course, the reps, they would rope.
Oh, the reps would rope.
Well, and then I don't ever remember Bernie roping, but that boy that was right on kind of the jigger boss or whatever they called him up there, he done the roping. But
When was it that you really got to start roping quite a bit in your career?
well, I drug quite a bit there when I was wagon bosses, JAs.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Chris asked me the other day if I'd ever drug 100 or better. And one time up there, JA was short-handed. I was the only dragger. We branded 93.
Wow.
That's the most that I've ever drugged. But,
Dang.
you know, his frame calves is little.
Yes, sir.
We just had one set of flankers. I bet they starved.
Dang.
Yeah.
And I bet they were all about 2 feet.
No, no. Neck 'em, one hawk 'em. And GL here, GL, when he was wagon boss, he's kind of the guy that started letting all of us drag a little bit.
What year was that roundabout?
Well, that'd been 60, 61, somewhere 57, maybe 58. I don't really.
When everybody,
But,
all the day workers started getting all entitled.
Yeah.
But the difference,
Glad he did it. I would never get the rope.
the difference there, we'd go in there and drag 15, 20, 25. We'd just trade with whoever we wanted to. But here, you just tell whoever country you're in, he kind of ramrods it.
He just kind of keeps up with the rotation of every day, kind of whose turn it is.
You don't get to drag in your own country.
Yeah, that's one rule here. You don't drag in your own country.
Kind of like how them guys that put on a bull riding don't enter their own bull riding.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
That.
You need to
guess-
go. You need to go to the bathroom.
No, I'm good. I'm just
Yeah. Well,
thinking, you know, men up there at the sixes, me and old Monty Hall are kind of ganged up there. If you get the rope, they trade. We just
Yeah.
Yeah.
one day there, Reggie said, "Won't you start the herd? But when you get tired, trade with me." I think he figured out. Brother-in-law and him.
Yeah.
funny.
So at the sixes, if you're dragging, you pick the guy coming
Yeah,
after
you just trade whoever you wanted to. With.
Is that
And Wagners too, up until
I like trading just because, like, whenever I'll go to Dixon Creek or something, if it's a smaller herd, me being like a day worker, you know, you got all these guys that with campers and people that, you know, I like to go in and like I remember one little herd, like I'll just go in and drag like 2 and then swap, you know, because there's some days you can't do that. Some days there's, you know, 350 calves.
If you drag 2, somebody's gonna be aggravated.
Somebody else is gonna be aggravated. They gotta drag like 27 or 42.
Or just, dadgum, you only drug 2, now we got to stop again, start over.
Yeah. Well, also.
And they're probably thinking at the same time, that guy needs a haircut.
Oh yeah, everybody's thinking that. But also, you don't know how long it takes me to drag 2.
Oh.
No, but I mean, I don't know. Just give the guys there that are camping that,
Yeah.
you know, got a string of horses, and there's some days though that you got a bigger herd. Like,
Yeah.
if you don't drag 18, 19, 20, then somebody's gonna be.
That's the thing about here. I remember when I was day working, I can't remember that there was maybe, you know, in a good year, this place run like 13,000 cows or a little more.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of calves to drag. And I remember when I was day working for Brad, my horse was kind of done. It was hot, and there was maybe 5 or 6 left or whatever. But I needed to quit him, you know. And he reminded me, you know, it's like we only got about 13,000 to brand, so if you're done, you're done. It don't matter. I have plenty to rope, so
Yeah.
that's kind of how I go at it.
Yeah. I remember one time up there that somebody showed up and didn't realize he had to trade. Boss sent him in there, and he was just like, I don't. So he just rope. He's like, I don't know if I can rope this whole herd, you guys.
You can go ahead and get out when you
Well,
want to.
you pick your next man. You know?
Yeah.
He's like, oh, okay, good. Somebody else come get these.
Yeah.
We didn't know he knew that, you know, and so it's like, man, he can rope this whole herd.
At sixes, I used to swap with whoever I flanked with so he could get a break.
I usually always pick Joe. If the boss is available and he wants to ride,
Yeah.
like whoever the boss is that day, that's
Can't
usually
go
who I
wrong
pick.
there.
Let's make exactly. That's what I feel like. Because if the next guy don't pick him, then boss, if he don't start the herd, he needs to go quick.
Yeah.
But
In the early days, it
Mark's in
wasn't,
there.
wasn't like that in the early days. Just two men done most of it.
Tell him about
And
that when
one day there, it was getting late in June or something, and the calves was big and it was hot. Son he was a wagon boss. He had a couple of guys in there that was dragging one about every 5 minutes.
ooh,
And Hazelwood, that was the manager at that time, he drove up and looked. He didn't go to the gate. He just climbed over the fence and said, son, get those damn boys out of here. And Harper, get your horse and let's get these things branded and get them out of the lot.
yes, sir.
But the point was then just pin them and brand them and get them out as fast as you could.
Yes, sir.
But now I like where everybody gets to drag, everybody. Like I've always said, a man will work harder at that than he will anything.
At roping.
At dragging. Calving,
Yes, sir.
But
Has it always been like that? That they would work harder at doing that?
I think so. I used to be that way. Now then, can't even get me to drag.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, my arm just gets so tired
Yes, sir.
after 8 or 10, it's
You bet.
better for me to just stay out.
Well, that's the thing. For me, 8 or 10 is probably 60 loops that I threw, Is getting done by lunch here maybe you think a big reason why it's so different than northern Nevada? They're not as restricted by the heat?
Yeah, could be, but they don't get done by 4 o'clock when I got home the other day. We didn't have no lunch that day.
Dang.
We worked 2 herds.
2 herds. He just,
That's what I was going to say a while ago about roping too. I've noticed like that day we worked several herds because the rain was coming in.
Uh-huh.
wanting to get them done.
We had 2 crews going, so we wanted to get done before the rain so the cattle weren't stomping down a small trap. Brad was just thinking ahead of the game, Had to get one herd out of the way and the helicopter put another one in or something, I think, like that. So that's where the trailers and the pickups come in handy, see, because me and Wes and Spur were helping one crew and then got them going and kind of got the bulk of the calves worked, and then we loaded up and drove probably 20 miles or something, 15 miles and to another deal, and got there just in time to throw them up, help them work the herd and get them branded. So it went good, and then it rained a bunch after. So.
And you knew you were going to get to take a break in the rain. You knew you were going to get to take a break in the rain, so working 2 herds in a day.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Wasn't the end of the world.
Yeah. Jimbo Glover says a day of no work because of rain's better than a week's worth of work or something like that.
Spur who?
Spur Hearn, he just moved to the Fulda
Okay.
camp.
Cool.
Yep.
You bet. Dang. Well, I appreciate you guys taking the time to talk to me.
Hope you can make something out of what I've said. We jumped around a lot, but I'm not very good at this kind of stuff.
Oh, I think you're pretty good at it.
I'll
Yeah.
think of something tomorrow that I wish I'd have said. Maybe something I said I wish I hadn't have said. You'll
Yeah,
edit
maybe.
it.
Maybe about the bareback riding. That's where I'd start editing.
Yeah. Maybe just a few points in there. I'll turn it down, but
Yeah, that. One more story about that amateur. There's giving a saddle in every event over there to you. And a good friend of mine that would cowboy a lot with was one of the judges. So we was going to cheat a little.
God.
He said, Gene said, whatever you do, just mark this first and out his two-head deal. Mark him out and make it get to the second horse. He said, I'll mark you so high you'll have to win that saddle. And so we did. I got the first and rode. And the second one, son of a bucked me off first jump. Gene hollered, reride. God dang. He went down there. I trying to think here a while back what the name of that reride horse was. But that's the hardest I've ever been bucked off in my life. Gosh.
You couldn't win, he was cheating.
Yeah. I mean, that thing throwed me no telling how high, and I had a big old water sat between my shoulders for a week.
Dang.
yeah.
That stock contractor rode up there. He's on his horse. Looked down there. You on another reride? He knew we was cheating. Got what I deserved, I guess.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Oh man, you have to change your game plan.
Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, I appreciate you having us, letting us stop in. I'm sure everybody will. There's a lot of people that would love to have a man like you, not only more in the public eye, but maybe even just running the whole country.
Well, I'd almost think I could do better than Biden did.
You're a hell of a whole lot sharper than he is, and you're older than he is by 10 years.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, do you have how do you watch these cycles of stuff that's going on in the world? Like, you seem to have a pretty good attitude. How do you view all the bad news that people get?
Well, it's certainly not the America I grew up in. It's, I don't know, a man wants to be a woman wants to be a man can get pregnant, have a baby. What in the heck is going wrong?
Yeah,
It's
crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's making me want to cut my hair.
What do you think? How a man ought to live in the way it is today? What's going to help him the most?
Stay
Raise a
the
family.
course. Stay the course. Just do what's right. Forget what's wrong. we can correct it is at the voting box. Get out and vote them people out.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yeah. That'd be my thinking, but I don't know.
Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for coming on, Wes.
Hope you can make something out of it.
Yes, sir. I'm Dale Brisby, Cole Hatfield, Wes ONeal. We're on to the next one, old son. Pow, pow.